So moving swiftly on, we are now going to have the session, Billions of Connected Things, the Ingredients for Interoperability. And our speakers on stage are David Miller, CSO at Covacent, and Andreas Mai, Director of Smart Connected Vehicles at Cisco. So please welcome them to the stage.
All right, so we're going to kind of do this tag team, right? So I'll start, and I really want to talk about at least some of the trends we're seeing, right? So as you heard, I'm CSO, so I want to kind of go through some of the things at least we're seeing in security areas. And all I need is the slides to actually come up, and we'll be doing great. Now you're slowing yourself down. They're behind a firewall. Who does firewalls anymore? Nobody does firewalls. So this horse walks into a bar, and the bartender says, "Why the long face?" There we go. All right. So, billions of connected things. There's only 173 of these slides, so that's good. So we've seen this slide again and again and again, right? So everything is changing, the environment is changing, right? So connected automobile, it is great that we have a connected automobile conference here in Detroit, but if you really think about it, right, Consumer Electronics Show is really becoming a lot of connected vehicle stuff. So it's really becoming an Internet of Things, and the car is becoming just another thing. But what's interesting about this slide is the fact that the value is changing. So it used to be cool that the device was connected by itself, right? Think of the Nest, right? The Nest was cool all by itself. I mean, I could log in and I could change the temperature. It was an individual connected thing, right? But now we're talking about our things being able to talk to each other. And in the end, we're going to have this ubiquitous kind of item where, by the way, the car is not going to be the center of the universe. It's going to be another thing connected in my life that's going to allow me to be able to basically have a better and more efficient implementation of my life, right? That's what it's about. In the end, it's supposed to make us better from that standpoint. And in the end, we're talking about billions. So think about where we had come. I remember in 2000 when Covacent first started doing this thing where we were doing single sign-on. You could have one ID and you didn't have to log in to all the different places you had to go. And I remember talking to a guy saying, you know, it's interesting, but what am I going to have? 5 places to go? That's 5 IDs. How hard is that? Now, we know now 15 years later that it's more like 50 places, but now it's not just systems. All of my things have to authenticate. And today, and I talked to a guy about 6 months ago where we were talking about networks, and he said, yeah, what? So in 20 years, I'm going to have 30 things. No, you're going to have 1,000 things. Everything is going to be a thing. Everything is going to be connected, right? Not just your phones, right? Not just your thermostats, but sensors and all of that. So it's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And what we're going to have is we're going to have walled gardens, right? For a long, long time, right? We still have them in a lot of areas, but we see this today. The best example of this, I think the new watch thing, right? The human dongle, I kind of like that model, right? Is great. So one of our sales executives said, everybody who made their number this year is going to be able to get an Apple Watch. And I had to tell him later, you better find out what phone they have, because if they don't have an Apple phone, then their Apple Watch is a watch. Maybe not even that, right? Because there's walled gardens, and we're going to have that, right? So Philips uses their own way of communicating, Hue light bulbs, right? Apple and Android have different things. Do we believe there's not going to be new operating systems? How many OSs will my car have to run for it to work? How many people here believe that the Apple car, if it ever comes, will support Android? So if you have an Apple car, you have to have an Apple Watch, and you have to have an Apple PC, and you have to have, right? And the same thing for others. So there's going to be these walled gardens, and we better figure out a way around it. Setup is still complicated. Now, what's interesting is, and this group here, right, is a lot more technologically savvy, but when you talk to geeks, they say, no, things set up, it was so easy for me to set up my Nest, right? There was only like 7 presses, and then you go over and you type in the password for your wireless, and you do this, and this, and that, right? So my wife thinks all of this is the most complicated thing in the world, and she gives up, right? So 80% of the people, I call them the blinking 12 people. And people remember VCRs, right? The blinking 12 people are the ones who said, I don't know how to set the time on my VCR, I'll just let it blink 12, right? And the rest of us thought it was easy. It is still complicated, but what people want is simple. So what they want is I bring a new device into my home or my car, it proactively finds it, it binds to it, it does the whole thing. It's all completely and totally, not just ubiquitous, right, but behind the scenes. Now, let me tell you the problem with that. That is great, and that's what marketing wants, right? If you want this to go, it's going to have to be frictionless, okay? So, how many people here remember installing games back in the day when you would have to go to Egghead and you actually had to read the side of the box to make sure that the computer you had enough memory, enough disk drive space to actually install the game that you did, and then you took the disks home and you stuck them in, right, one by one, and you did the install, and if you weren't a geek, right, you didn't know what to do. You had to have the right device drivers. Remember all that stuff? Okay. Now you play games that are 10 times more complicated, and all you do is you sign up for the service, and when you click on it, it all downloads behind the scenes. I'm telling you it's running a huge program on your computer, but you don't have to do anything. That's cool, and it's also given us things called malware and spyware, because they too download all by themselves, and you never ever know that they're there. We're going to, in the future, have mal things and spy things. So I'm going to buy this really cool McDonald's blinky thing that goes in my car, and whenever I'm within 200 yards of McDonald's, it'll blink so that I can go to McDonald's. And oh, by the way, it'll also tell exactly where I am, and it'll send that back to McDonald's so they can sell information about me, right? I mean, those are the sorts of things that becomes difficult, right, if you don't have that sort of control. But unfortunately, we also know that the organizations that win are the ones that are going to be connected. So there is no stopping this train. The chief security officer can tell you how insecure it is going to be, but everything is connected. I've had meetings on behalf of Covasant with Department of Defense to talk about connected battleships, to talk about connected aircraft carriers. Everything is going to be connected. We need to find some way to be able to deal with that. The other thing is, everything builds exponentially. So if you understand the way connections work, if you connect point to point, right, then it's 2 to the n minus 1, right, where the n is the number of devices. So connecting 11 things is now 1 more than 10, right? It's almost 100 more than 10. And 12 is more than 100 more than that, and again, and again, and again. So if every device has to seek out every other device, there are some problems with that, right? One of them is the fact that it is hard for every device to know about every other device because they're small, right? One of them is the vulnerability problem. So the more windows and doors I have in my house or my office, the more places that someone can break in. I'm just giving people more opportunity to find a place to break in. The more devices connected to my network, the more places that hackers break in. They don't break in on the really big deal thing, where they hack your light bulb, and everyone's like, yeah, but I don't care about the light. Yes, they can turn the light bulb on and off. Yes, unfortunately, if the light bulb has the right MAC addresses, it gets you into the wireless network that then allows you to install something on the computer, which allows you to get your password for your web banking, which allows you to steal your money, in which case hacking the light bulb is a big deal. The other thing is, the more places your data about you flows, the more you have a privacy issue. Right? Now, when I talked to the marketing folks, I said I wanted a picture that had a bunch of windows. And on the privacy thing, this is a uniquely Detroit thing. Anyone here who has ever been in the RenCen right? Any of the towers knows that one section of those towers faces the hotel. Anyone who's ever worked there for a while knows that if you get there early in the morning, there's a lot of opportunity to invade all kinds of people's privacy who don't actually know about closing the windows in their hotel rooms. So privacy gets invaded more the more things that there are, right? Security is a problem associated with that also. The other thing is, how do you remove stuff? So part of this adding and removing is, so I spend all of my time connecting my car to everything. What happens when I sell it, right? How is it that I deal with selling that vehicle, right? How do I get all my stuff out of it? And it's not just one ecosystem, right? It's multiple ecosystems. I don't know that I want my shopping ecosystem and my connected vehicle ecosystem and my entertainment ecosystem connected to everything. Do I really want the people on Facebook to know everything I buy? I don't think so, but it might be interesting for them to know some things. So I have multiple ecosystems, multiple places to go, right? We think that this idea of using the cloud as a connected hub, right, to really have a connected identity that does things like personalization, that deals with triggers, access management, that allows you to bring things in and out in one spot. So you log in and you provision something in and out, and has the ability to have content integration and triggers, right? So lots and lots of notifications that I can turn off. I get text messages from places I have no idea how to turn it off at all. I was going to change my phone number just because I don't know how to turn it off. So that ability to do that, we believe, really is kind of the core thing. And in that area, Cisco is trying to build something on top of that to add some additional value and some additional security also at the lower layers. And Andreas is going to talk to you about that.
Wonderful, thank you. Good, well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andreas. I'm going to tell you a story, 4 points on 6 slides. So bear with me. The 4 points are going to be, where's the money? What do we all need to do to get it? And why you all need Cisco for this. And lastly, about the big elephant in the room and the 5 layers of security we need to get our arms around it. With this, where's the money? I think I've shown the $1,400 slide quite extensively. I have not drilled down to that level, and that is the level of the $200 roundabout that we believe the automaker can rightfully claim for themselves in the domain of connected vehicle. There's some good news and some bad news in this chart. Yeah, the good news is we spend a lot of time on the infotainment and productivity bit, and we cannot make a lot of money with it. Yeah, so this market has been spoken for, but the better news on this chart is really that connected vehicle care is really the area where we believe the bulk of the money will be for the industry. The other element, and the second most important element here, is the business to government service exchange platform. And this is the reason why we believe that Covisint is a very important partner for us going forward. But let's talk about what we need to do to get this money. And we have done job 1. And I'm using the Internet of Everything here that we like to refer to explain why there's a lot of more work to be done. So first you need to connect the things. And you need to extract the data from the things in a secure way, in a high-performing way, and in a cost-efficient way. Because we cannot afford to transport gigabytes of data over LTE networks. I know that our service provider friends will love that idea, but it's just not affordable. Yeah, so at $10 a gigabyte, it's a lot of money. But the next step that we need to do is we need to integrate data. We basically need to consolidate, connect pools of knowledge, and that's the vehicle data connected with the dealer repair data, connected with the data from call centers, the data from your quality organization. And together, all of this will allow you to actually identify whether you are just talking about noise or whether there is a real issue that we need to address. And after you have done this step of the value chain, you need to connect the processes, because you need to make the people aware of what is going on. You need to change your processes, and that's a very hard discussion to be had in many enterprises, because you have built, the automakers I'm referencing here, huge organizations to manage warranty claims. And if you now change the process in a way that allows you to address more of these warranty issues faster, reduce the detection to resolution cycle, you may need organizational changes. And so you need to connect silos in the enterprise, you need to overcome these silos, and you need to facilitate decision. You need collaboration tools that allow the people to get to decisions very, very quickly. The interesting thing is, I think most of the people are on stage one. And the big question is, kind of in the room, if you just show me a hand, who is in stage two? Who is working at least on areas of stage two in this room? So we have one, I can see. So there's not many. Yeah, so there's a lot of work to be done here internally to actually reap the benefits of connecting vehicles and extracting all this data from those vehicles. But there's a bigger change at hand. So this was the world when it was still nice and peaceful. We had the automakers, and I'm just using a proxy here. We had the dealers, and we had some suppliers. But the world is getting more complicated, because we are in a world where the value chain expands from building cars, I like to say, to selling travel time well spent. And the more you move to the right, the more money the industry is capable of making. And that allows, or that requires you to build an ecosystem of partners that you and your digitized business can connect to. Yeah, so it's a little bit like in the past it was connecting subsystems into a vehicle. In the future is going to be connecting digital ecosystem partners into a kind of virtual value chain. And this is where Cisco wants to play. This is where we believe this connected vehicle ecosystem, where the vehicle connects to the home, it connects to other modes of transportation, it connects to the roads, it connects to businesses, to the grid, and ultimately to also these health devices that many of us start wearing. And to do this, you need a platform that connects the infrastructure of your system, connects the clouds of your enterprise with that of your partners, devices, data, processes, applications, collaboration tools, and social media tools. In this platform, and please don't take any photos, is depicted here. It needs to be a scalable, modular platform that starts on the level of the device. So you need a client on the hardware provided by the tier one suppliers that's providing connection management, data management, and security elements. And I will talk about security on the next slide. Then you have our kind of bread and butter business. That's the infrastructure. That's the Cisco One platform that actually allows you to connect these clouds. Intercloud is a big topic here that allows you to connect the cloud across enterprises. And then you need a subsystem, or kind of a whole box of subsystems that allow you to enable the digital business and enable the applications that you need to power all these things on top of this chart. So vehicles, homes, city, transport, retail, pretty much the entire value chain that I illustrated on the previous chart. And here is the service exchange platform, the platform that allows you to do business with your partners. It is a contact center. Yeah, I don't know whether any of you knew that we are also selling contact centers. Process automation, business integration, API management becomes a mission-critical capability, because all the APIs that you need to connect your systems internally with those of your partners requires a tremendously complex API management. Business insights, data virtualization. We have countries that don't allow us to get the data out of the country. there you need technologies that make this data available for your analytics capabilities without moving the data. This is where data virtualization comes into play. And lastly, on the right-hand side, and this is the big, big elephant in the room, we need end-to-end security management from the device across the entire system. And here, we believe we actually need 5 layers. And the first layer is you need advanced vehicle security. We have a team in Israel that has been hacking cars for the last 3 years. Many, many manufacturers and tier 1 suppliers have worked with this team. A lot of what you read in the newspaper is possible and more. Yeah, so you need to redesign vehicles for the world when they are connected to the internet. And I think automakers are making big, big investments and good progress in this domain. The second layer is very important. You need a security cloud. The vehicle itself does not have sufficient compute power and will never be updated enough on its own to protect against modern cyber criminals. Yeah, the clock speed in the cyber criminal world is months, not a 10-year life cycle of a vehicle. So you need a continuous update, you need a continuous report loop into a security cloud, and a security cloud that helps the vehicle to protect against cyber criminals. The next layer is you need to integrate it into your secure IoT enterprise infrastructure. So that is contextual intelligence that allows you to identify if somebody intrudes in your network, and that allows you to very quickly mitigate the results thereof, or the consequences thereof. You need contextual analysis for this, because the idea that you can basically keep those intruders out is a pipe dream. It does not work. So the detection to resolution element becomes mission critical. And then you need the service exchange platform, and this is where Covisint comes into play, with the ability to connect to other enterprises and offer something to your customer that is more valuable than you would be able to offer just by yourself. And for that, you need a very powerful identity management platform. And for those of you who have counted, this is just 4 layers. And there's another one, and that is the Security Operations Center. And the big question that I think we as an industry need to resolve is, can we actually afford that security is taken care of on a company-by-company basis? Do we need an industry-wide solution where we exchange information about imminent threats, about imminent security crisis, or even a cross-industry solution where we exchange this from the connected vehicle to the intelligent transportation system to the home automation front. And that was pretty much my presentation. Thank you very much, and have a very pleasant lunch.